I'm running a 100-mile race in about a month. It's in Apple Valley, Zion area here in Utah. And I have 3 pointers that I am doing currently to hopefully break 24 hours at the 100-mile race. There's no guarantees, but I feel like I'm on the right track to run under 24 hours at this 100-mile race, and it's got roughly 11,000 feet of vertical gain. So it's a challenge. It's a little daunting. I ran this race 2 years ago and did about 26 and a half hours, something like that. And so I've learned from that. I've done research. I've listened to podcasts, and I got 3 things that I'm currently doing to hopefully help me break 24 hours. The first one is running a longer race, about 5, 6, 4 weeks out from the race. So I believe I'm about 5 weeks out when I was about 5 weeks out when I ran this 50K this last Saturday. And one of the reasons why I think this is very helpful is, one, it's not crazy long where it's going to destroy me too much before my 100-mile race. And like I can recover and still get a couple more weeks of training in. And on top of that, it helps me gauge where I'm at. Now, one of the mistakes I made with picking this race is it's mostly sand, so it's not the same terrain as Zion. It's not that specific and similar. But at the end of the day, it did boost my confidence mentally that I'm in a good spot to be able to run fast and push hard on heavy legs. And 2, it's just good training stimulus, right? Some things I've done in the past is where I do like a 50K race and run 20 miles the next day. I was way too beat up from this race to do that, and that wasn't the plan. I just wanted to push hard, recover properly, and then get back into training. So picking a longer race helps you work on a couple things, whether it's nutrition at aid stations, pushing certain splits for the mileage, and overall just gaining a little bit of mental confidence along with getting some training in. Those are some valid reasons for running a race. And maybe you don't do a 50K, maybe you do a marathon or a 20-mile race. And I guess you don't have to do a race, but it does get you familiar with racing, because racing 50K it feels different than just doing a 50K training run, and I've done both plenty of times. So I would pick a race that gets you an opportunity to practice some of these things, and maybe you do it 2 months out or 3 months out. I happen to like that 5-6 week spot, and it seems to work for me. So that's the first point. The second thing I'm doing is tons of strength training. I do a push-pull leg split. So your push muscles one day, your pull muscles the other day, and then a leg day. And I do my leg day specifically after my tempo runs, which is another one of my points, but we'll come to that in a second. So I'm focusing a lot on leg strength. I do it just once a week, but I go heavy and hard on these days. I've been strength training for several years now, and I know there's some people who can't manage both, or maybe they're only used to running, or they're only used to lifting weights. I've been doing both for a while, so I'm very comfortable and confident in running a lot, but also working really hard with strength training. The thing that I have to worry about is doing it after my tempo runs, because I do feel like the tempo runs are more important, but I need the strength. Like, think about it. If you're going to endure any amount of mileage, and like this could even mean for like a 10K or a half marathon if you're not as competent with running because it's a newer thing for you, you need the strength to endure, right? Like, of course you got to run to get familiar with running, but I love squats and quad extensions and hamstring curls and calf raises and tibialis curls for legs, because think about it, like, you are using those muscles for like running, and so for me to be able to run fast and stay alive longer at that speed, I believe strength training is a big part of that. So I have about a 45-minute, hour-long leg day workout I do every single week, besides race week, and I've skipped it depending on some of like my back-to-back long runs and whatnot. So it's just really important to get that strength training in order to feel comfortable and endure much longer. So I also throw in core on my leg day just because I feel like that's also important. But I do core several times a week. Now, the last thing I wanted to talk about was these tempo runs, because I obviously need to run fast, and it might be a different fast compared to like a half marathon or marathon, but I need to be able to run fast for a long time. I have to average like 14.5-minute miles to break 24 hours, and I'm going to obviously fade as the race goes on, so I may be starting with 10, 9-minute miles depending on the grade of elevation. And I am going to have points where I have to climb. Like towards the end of the race, it's something like mile 90. There's this crazy long climb with like over 1,000 feet of gain or something like that. So like obviously I'm not running a 10-minute mile. Like for where I'm at, I'm not doing a 10-minute mile on that. But I might be running some 10-minute miles earlier, and as I fade or have these longer climbs, obviously the time will average out. So one of the things that I've been focusing on is lactate threshold training. Or basically, it's getting my body used to the buildup of lactate and then being able to flush it out, or just not let that buildup affect my speed or get too tired. Like if you've ever blown up, there could be a lot of reasons for that. Maybe it's a high heart rate, or maybe it's your body's just not used to that amount of lactate. And so I'm doing these lactate threshold mile repeats where I know zone 4 is what I'm shooting for. If you don't know what zones are, I would look up zones in running, or the five zones when running, because I train by heart rate for the most part. And so with lactate threshold mile repeats, I'm looking for around 173 beats per minute to 183 beats per minute, and I'm running roughly like a 620 to 650 minute mile on a track. Now you can do lactate threshold mile repeats on inclines, like on elevation gain, or just like some trail or the streets. It doesn't matter. I just like the track workout because it removes a lot of the variables, and I can just focus on good form and pushing that heart rate. So I believe that's going to be a big part of me being able to run sub 24 hours, is my body being able to get used to lactate a little bit better and at a faster pace. And these are the 3 things that I'm focusing on for my race. There's a lot of other things I'm doing, like recovering and nutrition, but these are things that a lot of people can implement super fast. Just pick a race and do leg day and do lactate threshold mild repeats, or just some sort of speed work. I think just any speed work is good for you, and I think we're seeing in the sport, and I think people have known this for a while, but I guess my point is, when I first got into ultra running, it was like, be okay with walking, walk all the uphills, run the flats and downhills. And I agree with that for new beginner ultra runners. I'm starting to get to the point where I'm trying to compete and push my limits and push the limits of a course, or break course records. And I know I have to run more than, I can't walk as much. So I have to get comfortable running as much as I can in the race to be able to set a course record, or in this case run under 24 hours, because I'm not winning the race if I run under 24 hours. Like when this race is, like the time is usually around 19-20 hours when first place crosses the finish line for this race. So I'm just focused on the sub 24 hours because I got beef with this race. It's my redemption day. But obviously as I build up and continue to become more competent and competitive, I need to be able to run most of my races, so most of the course. So if you like running, my name's Reese. This channel is about running, just everything. I'm trying to help people learn from my mistakes and hopefully set course records themselves, or at least PRs, or just deepen their relationship with running, because running has quite literally saved my life, and if I can say something that helps you, that's all I could ask for. So consider subscribing if you like this kind of stuff. If not, I still hope you got something out of this video that you can apply to your life, and I hope I get to see you in another video sometime soon. Peace.